Well, it's primarily about bringing simplicity to all the Istio users, both our existing Istio users as well as all the customers that want to adopt enterprise service mesh, because ambient is simplifying the overall architecture, so you don't have to anymore maintain the sidecars next to each pod, and really we decouple that architecture to really have a much more simpler way of actually providing a core functionality such as MTLS and across all the pods, and a layer 7 functionality separately, which definitely simplifies the overall customer experience with deployment and maintenance and running Istio environments. Yes, essentially it does. But just to also emphasize, sidecars are still an option. That's why we call ambient as a Istio ambient mode. So it's essentially just another way that you can deploy and run Istio. And so the customers who already invested in their existing sidecar architecture, they can continue to run those environments. They can also just add ambient mode type of environments and mix and match, because Istio control plane supports both equally. We just believe that most of the customers who are deploying new workloads or they're starting with Istio, they're going to choose ambient because of its benefits, much lower complexity to deploy, maintain, and of course run at scale. Yeah, performance, depending on the use cases, right? What I would say is part of performance is of course how much overhead infrastructure do you need to maintain, right? So we actually done the testing. We just released updated white paper on AWS EKS comparison between running sidecar architecture and ambient architecture, and the cost savings are on the ranges of 80%. So if you think about 80% less compute and memory just to run essentially and get the same benefits of security and observability you get with Istio, this results in overall improvement in efficiency in terms of how customers running their environments. Yeah, so we're really excited working with AWS. The first reason is a lot of our customers are running solo on EKS. This is primarily because we see a lot of very mature Kubernetes customers running EKS or choosing AWS EKS over some other alternatives. And when we were talking with AWS EKS team, they were also conveying to us that majority of their large-scale customers running Istio. So this became a very natural symbiotic partnership in terms of focusing on how can we improve the customer outcomes. Both with being able to make success with existing Istio deployments, as well as bring innovation together, such as ambient. And we just, of course, at KubeCon now we have available ambient beta preview as EKS add-on, which with one simple click now you can deploy and test and actually walk through some of the use cases so you can get ready when ambient mesh is going to become GA later this year. Yeah, so essentially what we just released is actually a preview with the view that actually helps customers to understand how to migrate. But as we go then in a wider adoption, of course, we're going to have a much more detailed guides, as well as any tools that will enable customers to first assess whether their particular deployment should be migrated to ambient, and then of course to really ease that migration and bring them all the benefits. And may I also add the last point, we're also very excited to partner with Amazic in Europe, and definitely work together with Amazic and all the partners to bring the promise of Istio and ambient to the EMEA market.